Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with a Bethesda Game Studios news update, and this is information that I can't promise too much excitement about because the creators of the Elder Scrolls franchise and the inheritors of the Fallout franchise are working on a bleeding edge AAA freemium game, and it's actually going to be tough to believe that I am talking about that Bethesda Game Studios in this video here today. The following information comes from an IGN article, which sourced a NeoGAF post, which then sourced a Bethesda job listing officially on their site talking about this freemium game. So first I'm going to go through the news and then we'll have a brief discussion afterwards. Bethesda Game Studios is looking for a great game performance manager based in Montreal to join the team that is pushing the bleeding edge AAA freemium game development. In this role, you will work with the game team to envision, evolve, and operate monetization strategies targeting the intersection of revenue generation goals and quality player experience. Ideally, you will have experience defining and operating online game business models, and have a deep understanding of player interactions with those models, both at the individual and community level. Now, the NeoGAF user was kind enough to put in bold what we really need to focus on in this job listing. So under responsibilities, we see work with the game design team on monetization design, strategy, and execution, envision in-game content and business model recommendations, and set requirements and create specifications for monetization features. And then under the requirements at the bottom, we see a minimum of 5 years experience developing AAA products. So for starters, this adds up with the multiplayer-focused job listing that we saw around a month and a half ago on Bethesda Game Studios job listing website as well. What I'm saying is this seems like a natural progression for what Bethesda Game Studios is clearly gearing up to do with one of their many titles. But first, what is a freemium game? I think instantly of MOBAs when I hear freemium. A freemium title is a free-to-play game that earns its money for the company through microtransactions. So think of games such as Gigantic, League of Legends, Smite. Like I said, MOBAs are really the first thing that come to mind, but there's also games like Warframe which aren't MOBAs and earn their income through microtransactions as well. For me personally, I think there's multiple reasons why Bethesda is leaning towards making a multiplayer game. First off, it's not a surprise. I've mentioned this in the past, I'll say it again. Bethesda tries making a multiplayer mode for every game they create. Everyone. Think of every Bethesda Game Studios game that you have played, Oblivion, Fallout 3, Skyrim, etc. They have tried creating a multiplayer mode for each of those games. It was just a matter of time before they did make a multiplayer game, so I can understand why it will be a little jarring for some fans to see them making a multiplayer game, but if you've been paying attention to them for a while, then you'll know that they were actually trying to do this. Anyway, the main reason I think they're doing this is because it's a move to stay relevant. It keeps them in the news mill and lets them work on different games, while this one keeps them afloat. If Bethesda Game Studios has a multiplayer title, and especially one that actually grows in popularity and stays consistently in the news mill, then that'll take some of the heat off of their other projects, because Bethesda Game Studios' biggest enemy is their silence. Let's be honest, a lot of people get really excited, especially now it's E3. Bethesda's saying absolutely nothing. There hasn't been a single official leak for Bethesda Game Studios, and I can already see, just based off the conversations online, people are really excited because nothing is being said. But I doubt they develop a game strictly off of the fact of getting fans off their back. I think the other reason for this is the inspiration through a title such as Overwatch and the way the industry's trending in general. Now, love it or hate it, Overwatch is insanely popular. It's more popular than the day it actually came out. And one way Overwatch stays relevant is through its many events that they host every single month, along with the new cosmetics that come with the game. Now, granted, it's a game that you could buy for $60 if you're buying on console, and you still have those microtransactions in-game optional, but they're still there. And because fans are constantly buying those microtransactions, Blizzard is able to keep pumping out content for the game itself, and especially because the fan base is so active. Point being though is that it's obvious that Bethesda Game Studios will want something along those lines, a multiplayer game that people are excited about and that will keep feeding them money. I'm not speaking for everyone, but I've probably bought Overwatch 3 times over with the amount of microtransactions I've actually purchased in-game, because I love Overwatch so much. I've put almost 300 hours into the title at this point. And so it doesn't really catch me off guard if Bethesda was to take a look at that and say, we need something like that. On the other hand though, I don't think Bethesda in general has had good success with these type of titles. The initial launch of Elder Scrolls Online, Elder Scrolls Legend doesn't seem to be getting any traction. Battlecry completely disappeared out of thin air. That was supposed to be a free-to-play game. So the track record for them getting a multiplayer game out there that's going to grab everyone's attention when it comes to Bethesda hasn't been that good. Anyway, the next point I want to get to is that this is not a mobile game, strictly because the job listing defines it as a bleeding edge AAA game, so that instantly eliminates a mobile title. but people do think it's mobile because it is Bethesda Game Studios Montreal. We'll get into that in a second, but job listings in the past for Bethesda Game Studios Montreal have specified when they are working on a mobile title. But anyway, Bethesda Game Studios Montreal helps Bethesda Game Studios Maryland on their project. So yes, this is what they're working on amongst many other projects. Todd Howard said they were working on around 7 projects at the time. So with that said, this shouldn't take away too much from other games. I don't think many people have realized, but Bethesda Game Studios has expanded immensely in the past couple of years. They have been hiring a lot, they have a brand new studio open in Montreal, and they are trying to become a bigger, more consistent presence in the industry. We can see it clear as day with the move to make a multiplayer game that'll obviously try to remain relevant for as long as possible, on top of expansions as a company itself. Am I excited for this? Personally, I can't say yes or no, because this isn't the Bethesda Game Studios I personally have fell in love with, but with that said, I'd be remiss to judge this off the bat simply because it is a free-to-play title. I can already imagine the comments now. What the fuck are they doing? Why are they not working on Fallout 5, Elder Scrolls 6, Starfield, etc.? I don't think this game is entirely taking away from what those games are. And after Horizon Zero Dawn, where I started diminishing a developer for trying something new and was proven entirely wrong, I don't want to tell Bethesda, don't do this, because who knows? Maybe this could be an awesome game. Maybe it could be something that really catches on and the community gets involved in. Will this be at E3? I mean, it's tough to say because I feel like Bethesda Game Studios is going to reveal something. There's too much going on with them for them to not reveal something. I'm not guaranteeing it certainly, but I'm more so saying that my hunch, my research has told me that there is a game coming this year. But whether that's Starfield or this freemium game, or maybe Starfield is the freemium game, there's a lot up in the air, and I am desperate for answers because this is certainly an intriguing development in what Bethesda Game Studios is becoming. And lastly, one thing people should know is don't worry. Regardless of whether or not this is a game you want, this doesn't take away from the fact that Bethesda Game Studios will continue to make single-player role-playing games. They are not going to turn into a company that strictly makes multiplayer titles. I can promise you that, because Bethesda, if anything, despite their flaws, are entirely well aware that they are one of the few companies who are both developers and publishers of true fun single-player games. But that'll do it for me. I am really curious to hear what you guys think about this in the comments down below. I have to repeat myself, I am shocked I'm talking about Bethesda Game Studios in this video here today. But anyway, the comment section ought to be interesting. Please do be nice to each other, have a civil discussion. I would really appreciate that. Anyway, be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content we create here. Other than that, stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.